Greetings from Managed Engine Desktop Central. Are you able to hear my voice and view the presentation? Please confirm by commenting on chat. Well, it's going to be a training schedule for the series, and it's a 7-week series, and we are now in week 5. And the below URL has the recording for previous webinars, so you can make use of it. And about me, my name is Leonard, and I'm having the industry experience for 10 years, and out of which 6 years with Managed Engine. I predominantly assist customers in implementing Desktop Central, OS Deployer, and mobile device management respectively. So today we have gathered here to discuss about the configurations, and it all deals with the configurations, the USB management, agent, and server management accordingly. So here we go with today's agenda. So we're going to see the complete overview of the configurations and everything, and how we are going to install the agents, how we are going to perform with the other Windows configurations, and to secure the USB device management, and few real-time quick scenarios and solutions based upon the support experience. And finally, we are going to end up with questions, and during the presentation, you may post the questions to us, and an expert panel would be addressing your questions then and there. Well, in regard to Desktop Central, the supported operating system is going to be of Windows, Mac, and Linux platform. And we are going to see about the architecture of Desktop Central. So Desktop Central is a client-server model, and this could be installed in the local office, and the agents are installed on the clients. Installing Desktop Central agent on client is a one-time job. Once it's installed, then it could automatically upgrade of the Desktop Central agents, and it will be taken care of by the server. Agents will be contacting the Desktop Central server periodically to pick up the tasks. Desktop Central supports LAN, WAN, and the roaming users who's going to be part of the remote office, like users always on the go. It is recommended to have a distribution server in a remote office to save the bandwidth. And distribution servers are installed on the remote office, which would help replicating the softwares, patches, and scripts to the remote office, and from where the WAN agents will access it locally to get it installed. And roaming users can access the Desktop Central through VPN, the virtual private network, or the NATing, the network address translation. And we need to open certain ports in order to ensure the computers are managed successfully. And here we go. These are the ports which you could see here. And these ports are required for various operations in Desktop Central. And for example, the on-demand port, the port 8027, which is going to be for all kind of your on-demand tasks. So similarly, all the other ports are required for other operations. So let's talk about the 90 minutes refresh policy. So why do we need this 90 minutes refresh policy? Desktop Central agent would be contacting the server at every 90 minutes. That is called as the refresh policy. This ensures that all computers in the network contact the server periodically. And here we are going to ensure 2 factors for the benefit. Number 1, network is not choked by agent communication, meaning bandwidth is not going to be disturbed due to agent-server communication. Number 2, the performance of the server is not affected at any time, since server has an intelligence to ensure the systematic streamlined communication from all agents at regular interval. To make it more clear and easy to understand, let's have a quick instance taking a network. So let's consider a network of 90 computers. So one computer will be reaching out the desktop central server per minute. If it is going to be for 900 computers network, 10 machines will be reaching out the desktop central server per minute. And similarly, for the large network of 9,000, it's going to be 100 machines reaching out the desktop central server per minute. So this would help to gain the access in the smooth way. So coming to the core module of configuration. So we are now going to discuss about the agent installation and how this is going to happen in the network, like how we are going to perform it on the computers, on the LAN, the roaming users, and computers in remote offices, and to ensure all new users are automatically managed with the agents in going forward. So I'm going to present this in order to be more interactive. Like, assume that I'm an administrator and my company has purchased Desktop Central and assigned me the job to set up and configure Desktop Central in my network. So I'm responsible to start managing the machines on LAN, WAN, and roaming users. So let me take a quick tour to show you how this happens. I'm taking you to the Desktop Central Server Console. So here we go. This is the console. And for the very first time, I'm going to add my domain in order to manage. So I'm going to the admin, the scope of management. This is the gateway by which we are going to add the domain or the workgroup. So I'm taking to the computers tab. For the very first time, we'll not have any information over here. So I'm adding the computers here. So need to specify the domain name, the domain credential, followed by the AD domain name and the domain control name. So for the benefit of the time, I've just already added, and you can see here. So this is going to be the my domain, followed by the credentials and the domain name and the domain control name. So the usage of this credential to ensure that it's going to be a domain admin account, the reason because using this account, we are going to read your Active Directory in order to furnish the details about what are the machines available in the Active Directory, which helps you to choose the machines according to your choice. And similarly, this account is going to be used in order to install the agent. So you should be able to see all the details about my network, like the OUs, the users, computers, domain, everything is going to be furnished. You could choose and deploy the agent based upon the computers because it requires for computers, not for users. You may choose the different domains and you can install, else you can also go with the alphabetical order if you have any machines specific to be managed. So by which we have added the machine, and all the machines will be shown up here. So by going back to the product, in this scope of management, whatever machines I've added will be listed over here accordingly. So now I'm going to install the agent in the network. I have three different methods to install the agent in my network. So I can choose the machines, the very first method. I can push this install agent. This is going to help me to install the agent to the target machines silently and successfully without interrupting or looking for any intervention of the user. It's going to be done silently in the background. And the agent installation is going to happen in a batch process. So we take 5 machines and we start installing the agent, and it's going to be a batch process in order to ensure that it's not affecting your network. And the second method of agent installation is going to take place by downloading the Windows local agent. So you can download, save to a common share folder from where all the client machines are accessible. We can try to install from the target machine by taking an RDP, or copy to an external media and insert the media like a USB or a DVD and try to install it. The third method of installing the agents is going to be of Windows GPU method. So this method would help you to create a group policy for computers provided with the startup script. This will help you to install the agent, and once the agent is installed, the group policy is applied. On the next reboot of the machine, all the machines will be carrying the agent installed information. Well, so when installing the agent, in case if it is installed successfully, you'll be able to see the agent status over here. If it is getting failed, you'll be seeing the reason for failure and followed by the read KB, which takes you to the read knowledge base to find out the cause and the resolution for the issue by which we can address it. We have the other methods of uninstalling the agent. If the agent is not required to manage, you may uninstall the agent from here. And if you don't want to manage this machine once for all, you can use the remove computers. So this would be removed from the managed list, which will help you to free up the license. So this helps you to free up the license, by which in future, if you're coming up with new machines, you can have that machines added to the desktop central. And similarly, we also have an option of installing the agent for Mac and Linux. So for that, we can go to the admin, the agent settings, enabling the Mac settings, provide the Mac OS group, or if you have any other group for the Mac, you can choose that Mac. Provided with the root password, we can manage the Mac machine. Similarly, the Linux. It's going to follow the same procedure to manage the Linux. And from here, we can start pushing the Mac and Linux agent successfully. Well, so I have successfully installed the computers in my LAN. And I do have a WAN network. I have branch office, couple of branch offices in New York and SFO. So we have to build and manage Desktop Central over there. So I'm taking you to the remote office. Going to the remote office, you have an option of add remote office. You can add the remote office and go ahead with configuring it. So for the benefit of the time, I've already created a remote office in the name of New York. I'm just going to edit and show you. Specify the remote office name. You'll be able to see your Desktop Central server IP address followed by the ports. Coming down, we have two different options while creating the remote office. The first one, as you see, it's going to be the distribution server. This distribution server is recommended to be created on the office where you manage more than 10 machines. This would help us to optimize the bandwidth. That's the objective of the distribution server. And while providing the distribution server details, specify the distribution server domain name followed by the computer details, IP address, and a couple of ports like 8021, 8384 has to be open on the distribution server machine. So using these ports, the agents correspondent to that network is going to communicate and pick all the softwares, patches, and scripts which are targeted to this remote office. So these patches, softwares, and configurations are going to be replicated in distribution server when we are targeting the remote office, and it's going to be cascaded to the client machines. We have a replication interval. For every 2 minutes of time, it's going to contact the Desktop Central main server for a handshake. The bandwidth throttling could be used in case if we don't want to have a full throttling of bandwidth, we can restrict the size and we can make use of it. Coming down, if you want to have the secure communication between the agent and server, we can choose this HTTP. If the distribution server have with any proxy setting or firewall, you can provide the proxy details. We have a dedicated remote control settings which would help us to take control of the target machines if you want to remote in, and we have the help card which gives you more visibility about what is best and default. Similarly, the color quality. and having an automatic agent installation as well as the distribution server installation. For that, we are going to add the domain, specify the credential name like dsadmin, choose your domain and the credential, provide all the informations over here, and this is going to help you to install the agents successfully to the target machine with the given credential. Else, you can also go and add the machines by choosing your domain, so which will help you to select your machines from this list and you can qualify it. If you want to import the details, you can also import the details by using this option. You can open a notepad file, type in all the machine names, whatever you want to manage, and you can start importing it. You would be able to see the machines added over here. So likewise, you can start manage and we can save it. So this is going to show you the remote office created with the distribution server, your replication interval and everything. If you want to go and modify things, you can just go and modify accordingly. Well, so I do have the remote office users with roaming user profile. So we have some roaming users who are like a Salesforce on the field going across the country and working with the clients. So in order to manage their machines, I have to create another remote office where I can go create another remote office, and that remote office is going to fall under the direct communication. So you can have a direct communication if your remote office machines are less than 10, or if you want to manage the users who are going to be on the fly or on the field, we can use it. So in order to serve those users, a public IP has to be specified here, or a fully qualified domain name should be provided. As mentioned earlier, provided with the proper NAT settings, we can have the settings provided, and all the other details are as same. So when the agent is installed, there's going to be a manual installation. So we're going to install the agents manually. The user is going to install the agent in the laptop, and once it's installed and connected to the internet, it's going to talk to the desktop central server using the public IP, and your firewall is going to allow the traffic to route towards your desktop central server, and since then the communication starts and we can manage the network. So by which we can create a roaming user profile. So once it's created, the user who's on the fly can use this accordingly. Well, so we do have an option of IP scope. So the benefit of this IP scope is when a remote office is created, since I have a New York and SFO remote office, my users will be moving from office to office often for the project purpose. So if a user from New York is moving to San Francisco, the user will be part of the San Francisco because of the IP ranges. I can go add the IP ranges by choosing my remote offices provided with the settings. I can define the IP range. Once the IP range is defined, so a user from New York, when comes to San Francisco, when connects to the port or the LAN, the laptop is going to take the IP which falls under this range. So in case of any kind of patches or softwares which I'm deploying to the domain or to the remote office wise, so that machine will not be losing any configuration. So the advantage here is, number one, the target machines will not be losing the configurations if they are moving from one office to another office. Number two, we have a defined target. So when you're defining a target to deploy any patches or softwares, if IP range is set, you can also define the IP ranges as a target. Number three, the benefit number three is when a new machine comes inside, if you install any remote office agent and assign the IP which falls under any of these ranges, so that machine is going to be part of that remote office automatically on its next contact. So these are the benefits of the IP scope. Now, so we are done with the installation of LAN, WAN, and configuring the IP scope. Well, so I'm good to go now. I'm managing my network. And according to my company will be adding new computers to the domain by every month. So I want to add the agents automatically. I don't want to go back with a normal agent installation by selecting and installing the agent. So I want to make this as an automated. Well, Desktop Central helps me to make it more easy and simplify the complex tasks for me. So I'm going to the scope of management policy. Scope of management policy is going to help me to configure with my Active Directory settings. So I'm going to provide my email address, selecting the domain or OU, whichever I prefer. The synchronization is going to take place on everyday basis. So I have selected as 11 o'clock every day. According to the first benefit, I could choose this notify me. This would help me if any new machine comes inside my domain. On the next synchronization, it's going to get notified to me. So I'll be getting the email as I provided in the email field. I'll be getting that email. I'll qualify or I'll determine whether this machine needs to be managed or not. So I can choose this notify me. And if you want to manage all the machines, whatever machine comes inside as a new machines, you can choose the install agent option. So this is going to help you to install the agent automatically and then notify. Similarly, delete inactive machines. If any machine which are removed from domain, this is going to help you to remove the machine similarly on the Desktop Central server also. So this ensures you, like the machine which is removed from AD will also get removed from Desktop Central to help you to free up the license. If any machine which is not going to be connected to Desktop Central more than 90 days, in my network policy, like we have a policy of 90 days, any machine is not contacted. So I just want to remove the machine from my managed list in the Desktop Central. So I can choose this option. This would remove the machine once for all from the managed list. In case if the machine needs to be managed again, I have to reinstall the agent and bring back to the managed list. Else, the second option would help me to get notified. If the above option is not required, want to have only the notification part, choose the number of days, and this is going to help you to notify the agents to the administrator about the machines which are moving or not in contact with the Desktop Central server. Fine. So these are all the possibilities of installing the agent successfully. And going forward, we have another settings over here. This would help you to retry the agent installation. So this helps you to retry the agent installation on the push method. So when you're pushing any machines, the agents over here, in case if the machine was down at the time, if the machine is up on the network, so you don't need to come back and push the agents again. So this would help you to retry the agent installation on the given frequency. By provided with email, you'll be notified accordingly. Well, so this is how I have configured my network with installing the agents for LAN, WAN, and the roaming user. So I'm good to go with the other features which I have to explore in Desktop Central. Well, so if you have any questions about the agent installation, you may go ahead and post your questions accordingly. So we are moving on to the second module of configurations. I'm going to take you to the configurations in Desktop Central. So this configuration is going to help you to manage all kind of the Windows configuration policies. So you could see more than a couple of dozen policies which we have for Windows, Mac, and Linux. And we're going to talk about the Windows policies over here. So let me put across as a story here. So after successful installation of LAN WAN, I need to configure the printers for all my users in the network. So I have done with that. Now I'm going to show you about how I am configuring a printer configuration for one of my users. So I have a user called Mark, the new user who has been requested for a printing to print his jobs. He just requested me for a permission to printer. So I'm going to configure the printer for Mark. I've already created the configuration. I'm just going to show you how to configure it for the first time. So you can just go to the configurations and choose the IP printer. We have an option of IP printer. Choose it for the user and furnish all the details. So let me show you how this is going to be configured. I'm just modifying my existing configuration. So I'm going to configure this printer configuration by specifying the printer configuration name, choosing my print server and the display name of my print server. And I'm going to overwrite if printer already exists. So if any printer has already been assigned to him, so I'm just going to overwrite this printer already exists. And the protocols provided here is going to be default, and the port number, specify the port number where the printer is assigned, and this is the port name of my printer. So this helps me. I should either provide the print server or the machine where the print driver is installed. So this path would help you to get the drivers, and it will install it to the target users. And you can also select the default printer in case if the user is moving on somewhere and if the printer is getting changed. So this would be selecting the default printer on it. And if the printer is not getting access, if he is unable to access, so provide the elevated privilege of the domain admin account and the password to ensure it uses this in order to configure it. And after using this option, so I'm going to choose the target user, the domain. I've chosen my domain, and selecting the domain, I'm going and choosing the user since it's a user configuration. And here we go. I've just already provided the username. You can type the username, and that's going to show all the users according to the alphabetical order. So I've chosen my user. If you want to exclude anything, if you're going for example, I'm choosing a specific user. If you're going to choose any kind of a group of users, if you want to exclude any user, you can also go and exclude the user and the other parameters. So that will not be applied to the user. And coming down, so we have the apply this configuration of every logon. In case if the user is changing the printer and on the next reboot, next logon, this is going to get applied. This configuration is going to get applied. If at all this configuration is not getting applied on the first instance, then this is going to get applied of the 2 retry operations which we have provided. So we have a combination of 10 retry configurations. You can choose this configurations on the failed targets by selecting according to the options, whether you want to use this for the during refresh or during the logon, can use it. And this configuration could be notified to me by provided with the email address. I can choose how many times I want to get this notification. So based upon the frequency, like based on 6 hours once, I'll be getting this notifications for the given frequency days. And I can click on deploy, and this is going to help me to deploy the configurations and based on the user logs in. So this user configuration will be applied only when the user is logged into the machine. And I can also save it as a draft. If I don't want to deploy this configuration now, I can save it as a draft. It would be in the draft mode. I can deploy it at the time when I want to deploy. So by which I have created a configuration successfully. And once it's configured, so you could see here it's already executed. So the status would be checked over here, whether it has been executed successfully or it is still in the draft mode or any kind of execution failed. We can click on this execution failed in order to see the reason why this execution has failed. Similarly, we can also see the configuration details and about its target machines. The complete summary page will help you to show what was this configuration all about, when it was created, modified, and the execution summary and the target. So we can also go back and modify the configuration from here. Similarly, we have other few status about in progress, retry in progress. So all these status are given under the help card with a brief explanation. So this would help you to understand about this configuration part accordingly. Well, so I've successfully done a configuration part for a user. Now I have a department where I need to configure this printer job to the whole department. So I don't want to go back and create from the beginning to do this job. I have an option of using this configuration with the IP printer where I have already done a job, and for a department it's based upon number of machines. So now I am going to deploy a printer for a department which has been already created as a custom group, and this department holds a bunch of machines for whom I want to deploy. So I'm going to modify, I'm going to use this option of save as new. There is a feature called save as new which will help you to create a same configuration like a cloning, and you can target to the group what you want. So similarly, I can just show you which we have created. So you can select all these details accordingly. Coming down, I've chosen the group. So I can go, I can choose a custom group, and that's going to be a custom group. By choosing it, I can deploy to the custom group. So this custom group could be created by using the option in the admin. So we have an option of creating a custom group for users and for computers. Choosing your domain or work group, you can create a custom group of selecting the number of machines which you want to have, and you can specify the group name. And the same thing could be happen for users as well. Similarly, we also have another custom group called dynamic. So using this dynamic custom group, you can choose any operating system or the different criteria of computer type or software and select according to your choice. For example, I'm choosing the Windows 10 as a group and providing the Windows 10 custom group. So when I create this group, all the machines which are running on Windows 10 is going to be grouped under this custom group of dynamic, which would be helpful for me to deploy certain things of patches or softwares to a group of machines. So this is going to be how to create a custom group. Fine, let me take you back to the original story. So we can select a custom group from here, and the rest of the options of applying this configuration at startup failed targets so we can deploy it. So you could have seen we have an option of deploy in users, but when it comes for the computers, the deployment is going to be as a deploy immediately. So this deploy immediately would help you to deploy the configurations swiftly compared to the normal deployment operation. So this would be done in the background. Like when you click deploy immediately, the machines available in the target would be notified by the notification server, which runs on port 8027. So that is going to notify the clients to come and pick the task instead of waiting for 90 minutes. So by which it helps to get this deployed swiftly compared to the normal deployment. And in the initial cut, 50 machines would be taken for this consideration in deploy immediately process. And the rest of the machines, if you have a target of 150 machines, so 50 machines would be deployed using the deploy immediately in order to save the network activities, and the rest of the 100 machines are going to be used a normal deploy option with the 90 minutes of refresh policy. So by which we can use this option of deploying it to the group of machines. And similarly, we also have the feature to deploy to a specific local office, which will be applied only for the LAN. And if you want to deploy for any specific remote office, yes, we can go and deploy it for the remote office. It's going to be for the entire remote office. But still, I don't want to deploy for the entire remote office. I need to exclude some machines. Yes, I can go exclude some machines over here, which will help me to use the option. You can just type and you can exclude the machines according to your choice in the remote office. Right. If you want to add more printers, you can also add more printers and deploy to the target machine. Similarly, if you want to delete a job, you can simply select a one-click and deploy it. So all the configuration which you have created will be completely removed for the target users. So this would help us to install this configuration to a group of users and the computers in the network. Well, so now I do have another challenge of configuring in my network. So in my company, if a user joins to any department, like sales, finance, or admin, any department, we have a baseline settings applied for them. So the baseline settings would be a basic configuration which is set up for new users who join into the company, like kind of an IE favorite. So we have a common IE favorites, a wallpaper, a drive mapping, and a Wi-Fi profile for each and every user. So I'm going to use this option of baseline configurations. So in order to use this baseline configuration, I have a collections. There is a category called collection. Using this category, I can create a group of tasks using for user and for computer. Since I'm going for the user collection, so you could see here, in a normal configuration, we can deploy only one single task, but here we can choose multiple tasks and we can deploy to the target machine. So let me show you how this could be feasible and how to configure things. I've already created a configuration called baseline new users. So I'm just going to show you how this works. So I've created a baseline new configuration. According to my baseline security settings, we have to change the display, the browser, the drive mapping, and the Wi-Fi settings, as I mentioned. So by going to the browser settings, I'm going to configure the browser settings for my Internet Explorer, providing the search engine and where all the downloads has to happen, and any kind of a script needs to be automatically run from a proxy. And even I don't want my users to visit certain websites, so I'm going to provide those details, and I can even configure the other settings for the Explorer. After finishing the settings, I can go back to the display. I can perform the wallpaper settings, what the wallpaper has to be, and the drive mapping. So every user has a common drive in the network, so by which they're going to use that drive mapping. So this drive mapping helps them to access only those drives, and this will also help them to override the existing drive. And in case if anything needs to be removed, we can go and remove it, and the Wi-Fi settings. So I'm going to create a Wi-Fi profile for that user, and after doing everything, I'm just going to the define target. So going to the define target, selecting the target machines, and I can go ahead and deploy it successfully. So this would help me to use this configuration for all my users, and this will apply for the users who join in the network. So I just want to give you one other information about a computer configuration and the user configuration. So you could see here, this denotes the computer and this denotes the user. So a computer configuration is going to be applied for an overall machine. So this ensures that that machine is getting applied with this configuration, and all the users available in that machine are going to get affected with that configuration. A user configuration is going to be applied only for the specific user to whom we have targeted. For example, the IP printer, which I've created for a specific user of Mark. So that's going to be applied only for Mark. And once it's applied, the user has to be logged into the machine in order to receive this configuration successfully applied. And the other advantage here is, for example, Mark is sitting in computer A when I was deploying this IP printer. So it is applied now. When Mark logs out and goes and comes back to office by tomorrow morning, logs into the machine B, which is a new machine actually. So I did not apply this configuration for the user because I was doing it on machine A. So now I'm doing it on, and the user is logging into machine B. In such conditions, agent has an intelligence. It identifies during the logon process, agent contacts the server to find out what are the configuration has been applied for this user, and the same configuration is going to get applied to that user. So this will ensure that the user will be getting his configurations wherever he is moving across the network. Well, so similarly, we do have the templates. There is another feature of templates. A template is a predefined configuration which is going to help you to manage all the configurations, and you don't need to configure anything since it's a predefined configuration which is categorized according to the possibilities in the network, like a network, Internet Explorer, security, tools, USB. So you have a lot of categories by which you can go and make use of it. Well, following with that, I'm going to show you how to lock a machine. So in such a way, like we are going to have a security audit which is going to take place in my network by tomorrow. According to the desktop security compliance, the computer should have an auto lock of 60 minutes with respective parameters. And this has to be done in my network due to the audit. So I'm going to seek help from this templates in order to make this work. And we have an auto locking PCs template for the users, which I'm going to create. So this template is a predefined, which has the values, everything according to the registry settings. It has been pre-configured. So if I want to go back and modify, I can even modify the settings according to my choice. And that will be added over here. So this configuration will help me to configure it manually. And even if I have already a registry settings available, I can also import it over here. So this is going to help me to import the registry settings also. By the way, I'm going to choose the users from here and apply this configuration on every logon, and I'm going to deploy it. So this is going to help me to deploy the settings to the target users accordingly. Well, so by which I have achieved of creating the policy of auto lock policy and apply to the target machines. Similarly, we also have the other facilities of script repository. Even if you want to run any kind of a script, we have a script repository which has a lot of scripts over here for Windows and Mac, and these scripts could be added from the templates. So we have 100+ scripts which is available over here. You can use a script by selecting to the view repository and select modify the script. You can provide the arguments, and this is the description, and you can modify it. Even if you want to edit the script, you can go and edit the script according to your choice. So this gives you more visibility to add the script according to your choice, and you can modify it. So this will be modified, and you can use the script in order to make it work by going down to the custom script. So in the custom script, you can add it from the repository. So when you click on it, whatever scripts you have added will be shown over here. You can choose the script and you can start adding it over here and to the target machine. So by which you can also achieve certain things in the script. And similarly, the configuration settings. So if you want to apply a configuration, once the configuration is applied, you could see here, if the configuration is applied for a OU or a domain or a group, afterwards, for example, if I applied the configuration of a registry configuration or a printer configuration to any of my domain or group, if any new machine is going to get added in future, that machine will also get the configuration added accordingly. So by which we can make use of this operation. Fine. And similarly, if you want to remove any configurations, we can also remove the configurations from the list and it would be moved to the trash, which is a kind of an archive. And if you want the startup, you want this configuration to be applied to a new machine, you can select during the system startup and user logon, and also the refresh policy after X number of hours. So likewise, we can make use of this configuration in order to achieve a lot of things which I can manage in my network. Well, so by which we are coming to end of the configuration. And if you have any questions in configuration, you may post your queries and our expert panel will be addressing it accordingly. Well, so based on that, we are moving on to the next module of USB device management. Over here, we are going to see how to block the USB in all the machines, how to exclude for a specific group, and how to use the encrypted devices. Well, I'm taking you back again to the product, going back to the same configurations. So you'll be able to see the configurations for secure USB here, which is available for user and computer. We can create a configuration accordingly. So since I've already created a configuration, I'm just going to modify and show you for the benefit of the time. And I have a secure USB configuration which is already applied. And in order to make use of the secure USB configuration, as you know, all the devices, all the USB port is a one common port in which you have a lot of other device types. So using these device types, blocking this complete USB is not going to help us at all, because if we block the complete USB, it's going to be blocked for all the device types. So we have a list of device types over here, you could see. So different device types, and this disk drive is going to be comprised with all kind of your USB drives, external hard drives, pin drive, thumb drive, and virtual drives. So when I'm going to deploy this USB disk drive, I'm just going to block it. So once it's selected as block, I'm going to choose the entire domain in order to make it work. So when I'm choosing the entire domain, it will be applied for the whole domain. So this, when we are choosing this for a domain, it will also consist of your remote office. So this will be replicated to the remote office as well. So there's going to be a common for any kind of configuration, which is going to be defined as a target as your domain, whether it's going to be the software or patches or scripts. So it will get replication to the distribution server accordingly. Well, so when I choose this domain completely, so all the machines in my network are going to be completely blocked. Nobody can use this USB port. Nobody can use the pen drive, or thumb drive, external hard drive, including myself, because as an administrator, I have a responsibility of taking a backup manually week on certain servers in my network. So that has to be done manually since it's a crucial server. So for me, either I could not take the backup now since it has been completely blocked. So in such situations, it's going to help me to allow me alone or any specific devices alone to be accessible for the business purpose. So we have a feature called exclude devices. Going down to the exclude devices, provide a device instance ID. A device instance ID is nothing but a hardware ID of the device. So you may see how to go fetch the device instance ID from the help article. It could be fetched from the device manager, and this is the device instance ID. Well, so when I'm going to provide the device instance ID, it will be added. So once it's added, my device, for example, if I'm having a Seagate 2 TB hard drive which I'm using for my backup process, that drive alone is allowed to accessible in the whole domain wherever I go. So by which I'm saved, I can do my job. But however, the others in the network will not be able to access any pen drives or thumb drives in the network. Well, in this situation, if a company provides a pen drive, if it is going to be a corporate devices, so it should be, or it could be with the same brand. In such condition, you can also exclude based upon all the instance of the specific vendor. So that vendor-based devices will be allowed to access. So likewise, I can create, I can come, and I can define the targets, I can deploy it. So this will be helping me to deploy this task to all of the machines. Well, so once it's deployed successfully, by going forward, in case if this has to be reverted, so most of the time they delete the configuration. So deleting the configuration is not going to help us at all. So it's recommended always use this remove configuration. Go here, choose this option. It's a one single click, which helps you to revert all the settings onto the target machines accordingly. So by which we can remove it. Well, so now I want to allow my managers. Now I have deployed this policy to all of my domain and everything is completely blocked, but my managers has to have access to the pen drive. So how I'm going to do this? I can go ahead, I can use the custom group and I can choose the custom group to the exclusion list where I have already created a member. So I can go create, I can provide this and I can deploy to the target group. So these machines which fall under this group will be saved from this configuration. So they can access anything. And similarly, my managers are using, some of the managers are using the encrypted devices. So I even want to provide access to them. In such condition, again, I can go ahead, I can use this option of exclude device. You have an option of allowing all the encrypted devices. So this would help you to add these encrypted devices to the exclusion list, and this will be allowed accordingly. Fine. So this is the way how we are going to make use of the secure USB configuration to handle the situations in the network. Well, so if you have any other questions, I request you to please post accordingly. So we are done with the modules, and we are now entering into the scenarios and solutions where we have already encountered. So we rely completely on Desktop Central for our system management, and we cannot afford downtime. So what should we do accordingly? So we have a failover server architecture. So this is going to be an additional cost. And this failover server has both primary and secondary server. And both servers are going to be having access to the database and the file systems, like Desktop Central file systems and the database. And this has to be with MS SQL database. That's mandatory. So when it is provided, in case if anything goes wrong with the primary server, then the secondary server will switch over and take the task and to ensure that all the management process is smooth. We have thousands of configurations in Desktop Central and it has become unmanageable. Is there a way out? Yes. So as already mentioned, you have an option of going and choosing the configurations from here by choosing a specific configuration what you have defined. Else, you also have an option of configuration reports. By going down to this reports, you can choose what kind of configuration you have selected. It's completely by configuration by users, configurations by computer, and you have configurations by type. So based on that, you can see your configuration. So it would be easy for you to go select and see how many configurations you have deployed for that event. Some of our computers go unmanaged quite often. Is there a way to fix this? Well, so in this condition, we have already discussed about the scope of management and settings. So this would help you to retry the agent installation accordingly to the missed machine. Make sure your users recognize the application. So you have the options of going down to the configurations and choose the list of configuration as well as the options here with the application types, selecting with the software or the patches. So this is going to help you to rebrand we have a rebranding feature which will help you to rebrand of Desktop Central to your own company brand by providing all these icons. So we have a settings over here by going down to the admin. We have a rebranding feature which helps you to provide your company banner and the logo to make it more easy. All of your users should be able to easily access our common share folder for clipboards and designs. How can I achieve this? So this could be possible by going down to the drive mapping configuration. So we have a drive mapping configurations by which we can map the drives accordingly to the user so they can access the common folders from here. I want Desktop Central to use the available system resource effectively for improved performance. So what should I do? So we have an option in admin where we can choose the performance of the DB optimization. So you can choose the memory, about how much memory you want to consume for this access. You can select accordingly and you can make use of it. I need to get information about an asset even when I'm away from my desk. So is this possible? Yes. So you can come to the configurations and or you can just go to the scope of management, computers. We have a settings which we already discussed about the SOM policy, in which you have an option of notify the users based upon the machine status, whether it's in contact or not. And similarly, we also have another feature over here which will also suit this scenario. We have a mobile app of Desktop Central. So you can make use of this mobile app for your iOS phones as well as the Android phones, and you can get this in your phone and you can see the usage like this. So you could be able to see all your patch configuration, the remote control, and other settings in your mobile itself. So you don't need to worry that you're away from office. You can access everything from your mobile. I want to restrict the technician to only access asset data. How can I do this? Well, so going back to the user administration, I can create a user role by adding a new user, and I can map it to the Active Directory, choosing a domain, selecting the specific user. I can provide him to access only to asset. Else, I can also create a new role here by which I can provide just to read and write, not of the full control to remove or do anything on the inventory. Due to some business reasons, we are unable to host Desktop Central Server in our own network. Is there any alternate solution? Definitely. So we have the Amazon Workspace as well as the Microsoft Azure Marketplace. So we can host the server towards these services and we can start manage, and we have a separate article, so you can contact us to get those articles. So we're moving on to the questions now. Does Desktop Central allow you to block USB devices for particular IP range? Yes, of course. As we already discussed, we have an option of going and configuring using the IP range. So we have a configuration. You can go choose this option with the IP ranges. You can see that. Can website security certificates be deployed to workstations and to multiple browsers? Yes, of course. So we can use this scripts to use the certificate for the trusted sites for your web browsers. Some keyboards and monitors have embedded USB ports. Will those ports also be blocked despite having the keyboard and mouse options excluded from the block? So yes, this could be done by going down to the configurations by adding the device instance ID, you can do that option from the exclude device. Can the 90 minutes refresh policy be changed? It's recommended not to change it, since this 90 minutes refresh policy is going to help you to ensure the network is smooth. When does the configuration gets deleted? Is it based on the status of the configuration? So if this configuration is going to be removed, if you want to remove, as already mentioned, you can move it to the trash from here. So when it is moved to the trash, from the trash, you can choose and you can delete the configuration accordingly. Or you can do the configuration settings like move the configurations if it's more than 30 days in the configuration panel. If you configure a set of restricted size in the collection wizard but don't select a web browser, does the restriction apply to their default web browsers or all the web browsers? No, this is going to be applied only for the web browsers which you're choosing. Is it required to move the distribution server to edge for the public communication? Yes, of course. If you require, you can just move to the edge, and this could be helpful for you to manage the network in case if your distribution server users are moving across to the edge, like going to the roaming users then and there, then you may have this distribution server set to the edge by providing a fully qualified domain name or public IP, so that the users who go out of office from that remote office will still be under this distribution server. Well, so here we go. We have come up to the end of this configuration. Trust this session was helpful for you, and you could rate us on a scale of 1 to 5, where 5 is going to be the best. And you can also have your hash with this desktop central free training and manage engine for your social media. Our next training is going to be on Service Desk Plus integrating Desktop Central, and this is going to be on 22nd of March on the given time. And thank you very much for all your active participation, and you all have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.